President Trump turning to Twitter in the wake of the London terrorist attacks to push for support for his proposed suspension of travel from 6 predominantly Muslim countries. President Trump on a tweet storm this morning about the travel ban, saying this: "People, the lawyers, and the courts can call it whatever they want, but I am calling it what we need and what it is, a travel ban." The Justice Department should have stayed with the original travel ban, not the watered-down, politically correct version they submitted to the Supreme Court. The Justice Department should ask for an expedited hearing of the watered-down travel ban before the Supreme Court and seek a much tougher version. In any event, we are extreme vetting people coming into the U.S. in order to help keep our country safe. The courts are slow and political. I want to bring in Fox News senior judicial analyst on all of that. Judge Andrew Napolitano is here. Judge, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to be with you.
First off, do you expect the nation's top court to take the president's request?
It's a tough question to answer, Maria, in large measure because there's a companion case coming up from California, and the Supreme Court does not want to rule while the same issue is still alive before a lower court. So they're certainly going to wait for the Ninth Circuit to rule. The Ninth Circuit could rule this afternoon. We don't know. The oral argument was a month ago. The other complicating thing, I don't want to get into the weeds here, is there's been no trial in this case. The rulings that have made their way to the Ninth Circuit in San Francisco and the Fourth Circuit in Richmond have been preliminary rulings. The Supreme Court does not like to get involved in cases in their preliminary status. It would prefer that whichever way these circuit courts rule, we know about the Fourth, we can guess about the Ninth, the case goes back to a trial court and there's a trial and a final determination, not a preliminary determination, and then the Supreme Court rules with finality. That's one procedure. President Trump proposes that he has the right to know, yes or no, up or down today, is the travel ban, as he's now calling it, going to stay in place while these cases are being tried and litigated, or is it going to be held in abeyance while the cases are going to be tried and litigated? And he's hoping the Supreme Court will keep it in place while it goes back to the trial courts.
Judge, what type of evidence does the president bring to the courts? It's a national security issue from his perspective. So what would that argument be?
Well, the president's argument is crystal clear, and you just heard Senator Blunt in the clip that Maria ran articulated very nicely. Under the Constitution, the president is the sole determiner, explainer, and enforcer of foreign policy, with the exception of spending money and confirming ambassadors and ratifying treaties. The Congress has nothing to do with it. The courts have nothing to do with it. Congress has given the president the power to manage immigration and has said in an emergency situation, and he decides what the emergency is, he can bar immigrants from certain countries from coming into the United States. The problem with the way this came about was it came on the heels of an incendiary political campaign during the course of which Donald Trump said things as candidate that he has not said as president. And the courts used the language of candidate Trump, which were incendiary and anti-Muslim for reasons he believed was appropriate at the time. And they've taken that language and said, yeah, this is a travel ban. It's a Muslim travel ban. And we're basing that on candidate Trump's words, not President Trump's words. The document is properly crafted. The president has properly supported it. He cited the proper authority. But when he was Mr. Donald Trump, this is the court's argument now, he said things which are animating him as President Donald Trump, and he's basing it on religion, and the Constitution prohibits that.
Those are the two issues. Can we really use everything somebody says in a campaign as,
Very, very rarely, Maria. The courts are not fond of that, except when the words in the campaign are starkly different from the words of the person once they're in office, which is what we have now.
Judge, can common sense rule here? And can we just say that the terrorists are coming from these countries, so to get around the whole court system, to just say, hey, he's not saying ban them completely, he's saying he wants to vet them more before they come to this country.
Well, the vetting, that's a good question. There's a couple of issues there as I see it. The vetting, the extreme vetting, he and General Kelly can do on their own. That is not a constitutional issue in terms of the scrutiny imposed upon individuals when they seek visas or when they show up at our airports. But the issue, of course, is almost a little humorous. The travel ban was for 90 days.
Right.
He signed it more than 90 days ago. It would have expired by now.
But to that point, is the travel ban even necessary to really crack down on the people who are coming into this country from these, you know, countries that harbor terrorists?
Guess who chose the 7 nations? John Kerry and the Obama State Department. If Barack Obama had signed this executive order, it would have been upheld because it wouldn't have had the anti-Muslim language from candidate Obama, because you didn't hear that. You didn't hear that from him. I don't know what the answer to your question is, except to say that if the Supreme Court follows all the other courts and looks at Donald Trump's language as a candidate, the ban will lose. If the Supreme Court follows Supreme Court precedent, as it should, the ban is lawful, constitutional, reasonable, and well within the president's authority.